Welcome to First Time for Everything, a podcast for curious people. I'm your host, Danny Elliott. I've toured the world as a backing vocalist for some of the biggest names in music, owned a prop rental business, ran a vintage boutique out of a camper I renovated, and have had a lot of firsts in my life. I created this podcast in hopes of inspiring you to take a chance on something you've been wanting to try for the first time. We're going to discover a lot of really cool stuff together, and I'm so happy you're here. Hey first timers, so I'm just going to get right into it. Having your career take off is big. Having a kid is also big. Now imagine both of those things are happening at the same time. Most of us would be pretty overwhelmed, right? Well, lucky for us, we're in for such a treat today. I'm so excited to bring you one of the most talented, funny, hardworking, pure-hearted people I know, who is a magician at making both of those things seem effortless, award-winning country artist Mickey Guyton. Mickey was actually one of the first people I met in Nashville, and through some cruel twist of fate, we didn't really get to become friends until about 6 years after we met. But listen, better late than never. I'm just pissed we missed out on so much time together because she's freaking awesome. Mickey is a powerhouse vocalist, an insanely gifted songwriter, an activist, mother, wife, and a damn good friend. In today's episode, we talk about having your career blow up and finding out you're pregnant at the same time, the full-on realness of having the performance of your life immediately followed by a code red diaper blowout backstage, and speaking up for yourself in an industry that doesn't always want to hear what you have to say. I know you're going to love Mickey as much as I do if you don't already. This is First Time Becoming Famous and a Parent at the Same Time with Mickey Guyton. Don't know if my feet feel something. So excited to have my girl Mickey on the podcast today. Woo woo! Thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh my girl, you know you're my girl. Of course. Of course.
I mean, any excuse to hang with you makes me very happy. So
I mean, we've been trying to do this for a long time, and I've been such an just all over the place asshole where I've just
You stop it right now.
We are finally doing this.
You're good. We're here. So yeah, the podcast is about first time. So I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about like an interesting kind of 2-for-1 first time. So like first time becoming famous while becoming a parent at the same time. Like, holy shit.
That was, I must say, the weirdest time of my life mentally. I had to deprogram myself because I felt my self-worth, and I'm still going through it now. But when I found out I was pregnant, literally at the time, like my song was going viral, I just remember I was like, well, this is it. Like my career is it. My career is over. It's over. And I should have been really happy. I created this beautiful baby out of love, but I was also sad because I thought, like as women, we've been taught, especially, I mean, Danny, you're like an incredible singer vocalist. You've been in this LA machine. You've been in the music industry machine. And what do they tell women? They say you need to make every guy want to sleep with you and every girl to want to be your best friend. Mm-hmm. How is that even possible?
And there's like an age limit on this.
And there's
a right
self-life too. Like you've got so you're 25 and then you're considered way old. And I was like, every possible strike against me happened in that time. And it was a really, really weird time.
I mean, we're going to get into, I'm so interested to hear, like, I mean, like we've been friends like through that time, but just like the details of how you kind of navigated that stuff. But I thought we would take it back a little bit, just to give people context of like how much you had invested going into pursuing this as a career, because working towards or being an artist is not just something that you're like, okay, I'm an artist now, I've arrived, like no big deal. It just it is a lifetime pursuit. So maybe you can just give people like context for like how long you had been an artist or working in the music industry before things started popping off for you.
Well, like 15 years. Like I was in Nashville for 10 years. So imagine, I was in LA, I went to school, I worked 2-3 jobs at the same time at times. Went to all the Hollywood parties, sang for everybody that you could have possibly imagined, and then moved to Nashville and did that same thing. And I was in a relationship. I sacrificed my relationship for this. We were in a long distance relationship for like 9 years. And I feel like God kind of was like, and I don't like to preach to people, I'm not that girl, but I think God is really weird and he brings you blessings in the weirdest moments. And for me, I was pregnant in a pandemic and there was a huge racial reckoning going all over the country. All of those things were really humbling, and it was a really weird time.
Yeah, that's a lot of things to be happening at once, to also be processing, like bringing new life into the world during a racial reckoning, during a pandemic, while your career is taking off because of a song that basically is talking about this racial reckoning.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we had talked about like some family planning stuff, but like, did you always know you wanted to have a family, or did you feel like you could have a family and the kind of career you envisioned for yourself at the same time?
Listen, I am a Southern belle through and through. And growing up in Waco, Texas, I envisioned myself at 16. I'm going to go to college at 18, meet my future husband at 21, get married at 23, have our first baby at 24. That was like my plan. Or
what changed for you in that shift?
Moving to LA and seeing, life, clearly God did not want me to have a child and bring up any baby in my state of mind at that time. But, you learn, you grow up and you move out of the environment that I was so accustomed to, which was in the deep, dirty South, the Bible Belt. And I moved to what a lot of people in Texas would consider Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Can I tell you, you'll love this. Just for anyone listening, for some people who've listened to the Purity Culture episode, people know that I was raised in a born-again Christian household. But anyone who hasn't, when I moved to New York, I got an apartment on 100th and Broadway. And bless my dad, he's chilled out a lot since this time. But he was like, Dan, the irony of this. Broad is the way to sin and death. Guard your heart. Remember who you are. I was like, you need to sit down and relax. It's just the name of a street, okay?
It's just wild how much we just had no idea. Like we had no idea. And I moved to LA and everything that I was taught was wrong or bad, or I was faced with it head on. And, it was very interesting. I just learned so much about people, and people are raised so many different ways, and that's okay. And so being out there and becoming an absolute mess, dating all kinds of people, babies quickly.
They fade.
Quickly, with a quickness. Quickly, like snap of a finger. Like I was not thinking about babies up until the point where I was even pregnant. Like, I told my husband, we got married. And he wants kids, and I'm going to, I wanted kids too at some point. And then as we were together, I was just like, well, it's not like I've been the safest person. So I haven't gotten pregnant this soon. So clearly God doesn't want me to have a baby. And then I got pregnant at I was certain I wasn't pregnant. And when I saw those 2 lines, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
God was like, gotcha, bitch.
I'm not kidding. Like I had such clarity. I quit drinking. I'd been working out. My song was going. Granted, it was a really bad place, but in my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to be snatched for the red carpets. I had a plan. And I'm going to be snatched for that red carpet. And I looked at that pregnancy test and I literally was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
yeah, what were some of the first thoughts that kind of went through your
are
mind?
you fucking kidding me?
Just that.
And it's like, I'm not gonna, I'm clearly supposed to have this child, and I'm not gonna not have him because my career is going a certain way. And I actually, like, the thought almost crossed my mind. I was like, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? Like, clearly this baby is supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And, I kept, for a while, I kept thinking, oh, I'm a pessimistic person naturally, for people that don't know. Like, I can be super, like, encouraging, but internally and by myself in my cubby hole, I am a very pessimistic person. It's really bad. I'm trying to work on it. It's bad. And I remember I was like, well, my luck, something's going to happen and I'm not going to be able to have the baby. And those were thoughts. And the whole pregnancy, I had no problems, no preeclampsia. I'm having a geriatric pregnancy, by the way, like no issues whatsoever. Like, even up until the delivery, even my birth wasn't bad. Like, that's how much God was like, bitch, you're
yeah, this is happening. Get on board.
Happening, and it, like, and I'm really glad that it did, because it just taught me, like, I see things so differently now, even within my pessimistic ways. I do see things so differently.
Yeah. He was definitely supposed to be here for sure. He is an angel walking this earth.
He is. He really, really is. He is.
As 2020 kind of progressed, I'm amazing that there weren't, like, challenges with the pregnancy, but I know there were some things happening kind of socially.
Yes.
With the song. What were some of those challenges that you kind of had to deal with and walk through? And did you feel any of those things maybe more acutely because you were becoming a parent?
Yes. So as my career was starting to happen, then I got a lot of, like, interviews and videos and all this stuff that I had to do while I was pregnant. And I can't tell anybody. And my body is quickly starting to make changes, like instantly, almost. Like, people called me a vampire baby because at, like, 2 months, like, there was a bump. And that normally doesn't happen. And I'm like, what? I can't hide this. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I remember, filming some stuff, I don't know, for Spotify or somebody, and my boobs are out of control. I forgot a bra. And I'm like, and normally I don't have to wear a bra because I don't have boobs. And it was like, and I was sitting there, and I remember even saying, I told the people that were working with me, I let them know. I was like, I'm pregnant, so they could all be prepared. And I remember when I found out I was having a son, and I said, my son, it just like that reality, it's just like, it's such a weird thing to be able to say that and not even know who this person is. But some of the challenges were me trying to prove to myself that I'm pregnant, but I'm working. Like, you're not going to stop this. Nothing is going to stop this. Like, as a mom, I can be pregnant and have a job just like everybody else, is what I kept saying. And I would have to go to all of these, everything was still in the pandemic. So thankfully, in the insecurity of my body changing, I didn't have to be around a lot of people as I was feeling like that, which was great. But some of the hardest things that were happening is my career was blowing up because of something that was that awful happened that the whole world saw. And I wrestled with that. That was something I really wrestled with. Like, that was the cost for this to happen for me. And it was really, really sad. And then on top of that, a country artist got caught saying the N-word. And I was 9 months pregnant, Danny. And I saw this. And as someone, like, as I've gotten older, and you read history books, I studied Black history, and you see like the freedom fighters or Martin Luther King or all these different people that took a stand, no matter what, how awful, how hard it was, like those people that we know so well, Rosa Parks, Maya Angelou, all of these people that had such a huge impact on all of our lives, every single person in the world's lives, their children are proud of their parents. And as a mother to a future Black son, these are things I thought about. I was like, okay, I didn't think, like, I was so caught up in the moment of it, and I was so upset. And I was like, my baby is going to know that his mom stood for something. So I wrote out something on my like Twitter that has like a few thousand followers. It wasn't a lot. And the hate I got back at 9 months pregnant was some of the most traumatizing moments I've ever experienced. And before that even happened, like then there was the January 6th thing that happened at the Capitol. And I remember I'm sitting there holding my belly. I'm a month away from giving birth, literally. And I just held my baby and I just cried because I was just like, is this what I'm bringing my child in the world to? Is this what he's going to have to like deal with? And then that happened with that country artist that, we're moving forward. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. It's not about even the act. It's more about the response to it. And I had some of the most hateful things said to me, the most hateful things said about like, get that N-word out of country music. Don't you ghetto up country music, you fucking ugly N-word. Like that was the stuff that was said to me at 9 months pregnant. And I remember like laying in this bed right here all day, sick to my stomach and just crying and 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 crying, like outwardly crying in front of my mother. And I don't cry in front of my mom. My mom was out here. And like a day later, I gave birth.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I remember you saying you went into labor early, right? Do you feel like that contributed to like the stress of that?
I think the stress, absolutely. And like people don't realize, like really think about it. First of all, no matter if you're male, female, whatever, like online bullying is real. It's something we've been taught not to do since elementary school. You have grown people hiding behind these fake pages saying horrendous stuff to you. And like, they have no idea what that does to you emotionally. Like even to this day, I'm still dealing with it. I'm still scared of people. I'm scared.
Understandably. I mean, like how, it's like, how could you not be? People say some things that are, whether or not they mean them, they feel very real. And some people do mean some of these crazy things that they say. And so it's like, how do you kind of move forward in your life, like having heard the things you've heard?
Yeah, someone said your child is the ugliest fucking kid I've ever seen.
I don't even know how you get to a place in your humanity where you can talk about children just negatively in any way like that. B, he is an angel again. Like he's a beautiful child. Like objectively, he's beautiful. but
just a sweet baby.
Yeah, it's just like it's scary and it's sad that people even think to say things like that. I mean, do you have some kind of parameters kind of set up for you mental health wise?
Yes.
Now, what are those?
So I have a social media person that handles my social media. I'm not on it. Staying off social media, my algorithm was really, really messed up on my Instagram specifically and my TikTok. I tend to click on things that I'm passionate about. And it was like catching the Karens and
Yeah, same. I had to kind of go in and trick the algorithm and like
Yeah.
random things I never like care about and just like be like, "Oh, this ad isn't actually relevant," even though 100% it was. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like staying off of that, like staying, because not only was I watching this stuff happening, like you're seeing, like I follow like Sean King and I'm seeing all these horrendous things happening to young Black men. I'm
Oof.
raising a Black son, and that stuff was really, really, really messing with me in my head. And so I had to get off of that. There's absolutely nothing on social media that's really contributing to your life.
Yeah, it's so true. It's interesting. Like it's so crazy how I think like, oh, I have it together in some aspects of my life, but yet I have such a hard time getting off social media. And I will find myself, I hate that I do this, but I'll be like, okay, don't get on like in the morning. You don't need to start your day like that. And for some reason, my Instagram is open, my TikTok is open, and then I'll start to have this feeling that I can't explain that just
So you
doesn't
feel
feel
like
good.
shit. You feel
Yeah.
like you're not doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Oh, this is my cue to get off. I should have never gotten on in the first place." But like, okay, this is like don't stay past this feeling because you're going to feel that much worse. But you're right. There's nothing on there that I would say aside from some therapy pages that I follow that have kind of helped jumpstart some of the questions I've been asking myself about healing certain things and moving through certain things. Outside of that, and just kind of staying in touch with friends I don't get to see that often, there's really nothing that contributes to your life.
You're right. Like I follow like Scary Mommy. That's like a good one where I'm just like, oh, or the one about toddlers where teaching you different ways to talk to your toddler. Those stuff are very informative.
Mm.
But other than that, like why am I scrolling down Kim Kardashian's page wishing I was at her Christmas party? What was wrong with me?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I found myself recently down some TikTok holes where I'm like, what? How did I get here? Like, you could just kind of wake up and you're like, ah, what?
Yeah, it's so bad.
Oh my God. Well, like after your son was born, what was do you remember what your first professional obligation was and how it felt to do that? Women's health is extremely important to me, and I think modern fertility is one of the most exciting, accessible new advancements to come out in recent years to help us really understand our bodies more. Whether you're ready to pop out a mini-me like yesterday or the thought of being someone's parent after the night you had last night seems light years away, knowledge is power. Understanding how our bodies work to better be able to prepare for the future and take better care of ourselves right now is game-changing. Modern fertility doesn't just offer fertility testing. It also offers birth control, prenatal vitamins, ovulation and pregnancy tests, and just launched a sperm kit. Because fertility isn't just a woman's job, okay? So click the link in the show notes for $10 off your modern fertility hormone test and join the thousands of women who refuse to let fertility be a mystery. Now, back to the show.
Well, it was the Grammys.
Was it? Shit, talk about coming back to work.
It was like 2 weeks after I gave birth, girl.
Oh my God. What was going through your head in that time?
First of all, your body is so different. And I was like standing in a living room. I had this beautiful Naeem Khan dress that was made for me.
So gorgeous.
Thank you. I was still like pretty, like it may have been 3 weeks after I gave birth. It's such a mind, like you're supposed to, like before I gave birth, I was a certain weight. Mm-hmm. And then I remember I gave birth and I think I was like 170 pounds. And so after I gave birth, I was like, I know, like after losing this placenta and the baby and the water, like I'm at least 150 now, like at least. Girl, I stood on that scale at the doctor's office and it said 164 pounds. I was like, what? And so you're in that in your head. And that's not big. Okay.
It's all relative, right? It's relative to how you're used to seeing yourself, the number you're used to seeing.
100%. And I was expecting something else. There's nothing wrong. Let me preface this. Like, be in your body and enjoy that. And for me, that's something that I've learned as well. I was just not prepared for the changes in your body. So to put on this dress that I already feel uncomfortable in. And people don't also tell you that after you give birth, you're peeing on yourself. So I'm having to go out on stage for the Grammys and sing that song Black Like Me, where you're pushing for notes.
Oh yeah. That pelvic floor has not come back yet, honey.
Praying to God that I don't pee on myself. And I was pumping in the back too. So I'm pumping. It's
coming out of every hole.
Everything. And you're having to do that. And I remember and then people fat shame you and you're just like, literally.
It's incredible. I think it's so, I'll put an asterisk next to funny how we have these visions of different career moments, right? And what we think they'll look like. And I'm sure that at no point in your ascent to this moment, you were like, oh yeah, I'll be at the Grammys pumping and hoping I don't pee.
That's literally not at all what I thought. And people don't even understand. Having a baby is so humbling, especially as an artist, because you're on these crazy stages around all of these people, glammed up, hair done, makeup done, nails done, toes done, eyelashes on. And you get on that stage and you sing, and then you walk off that stage and you have to change a poop-filled diaper, like a full-on blowout, and with the possibility of it getting under your nails. And it has happened to me.
Oh, I believe it. It's God's like, I'm gonna keep you humble.
Oh, the humblest.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is amazing to think about, just being that glammed and then being like, oh, give me a minute, I gotta go deal with this explosive diarrhea.
It's truly, like I said, it is the most humbling thing that you could ever do.
How have you navigated professional and parental obligations? Do you kind of have a checklist in place for work stuff that you're like, it has to meet these criteria in order for it to be worth it for me now, versus what you would have said yes or no to prior to having kids?
Well, thankfully, Grant, my husband, he's a lawyer and he owns his own law firm. So he's able to travel wherever I'm at. So as long as wherever I'm at, I can have a hotel room that's big enough for the three of us and our nanny, we'll do it. I don't really have any requirements other than that. We have miraculously been able to make this work. Now, when Grayson starts going to school, that's a different story, but he's been traveling with me since he was 2 months old. Amazing. So yeah, so he's in
that flow.
Yeah, we've just made it work.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I love that. It's exciting to hear that with the right support system, you can still pursue the things you want to be able to pursue. I'm sure there are caveats to everything, right? But to be able to, because, when was he born? February 21?
Yeah.
So, and I would say your career has continued to just grow since then, and he'll be 2 this year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's incredible that momentum has just continued to keep moving.
It's been so wild. And, it's hard, it's literally one of the hardest things. I mean, I literally had a facial to try to help get rid of my dark circles because I don't sleep, but you do what you have to do as a parent. So, whatever I'm doing and I'm working, whether it's a late gig or an early gig, I'm still there to take care of my son after or before. If I have to wake up early in the morning, even if I haven't slept, I will do that. And then you're also navigating him being sick.
Yeah.
And that has happened too. That was another, we didn't talk about that, but one of the other hardest obstacles after having a baby was when Grayson got really, really sick and almost died. That was one of the most.
Did he have COVID?
No, girl, he had a stomach bug that depleted him from every bit of everything that he had, and he became super dehydrated. Became septic.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. The septic
Something,
part.
yeah, he had something else I can't remember. But I mean, that was literally one of the most traumatizing things that I've ever gone through. And so now it's like after going through trauma like that, and I had to work
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, because he was in the hospital for a while.
like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was during the AMAs. So he was at Children's Hospital here in LA. And I would leave Children's Hospital, like we were in the Children's Hospital with him. He was in the ICU. And by the time he got out of the ICU and back to a regular place, and we had been there for like 17, 18 hours in the emergency room, praying for him.
Yeah.
Then I would have to go to rehearsal. And then I would come back. And then I went and performed at the AMAs. And before the AMAs were even over, I got in my car, went right back to Children's Hospital in hair and makeup, and slept with my baby. And, like, made sure he was okay. And Grant was there the whole time, obviously, but
I don't even know how you begin to compartmentalize those things and like are able to, because it's like the kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, it feels like a big part of what you do in addition to being an artist is being a voice for things, and knowing that that work is super important, and wanting your son to know that you're doing everything in your power to support him and to create this new better world is like equally as important as his well-being, and trying to balance both of those things.
yeah.
It must just, yeah, it must have been, or continues, I'm sure, to just be a delicate balance. But I mean, props to you for showing up on every single freaking level.
Well, you have to take time for yourself. And like I was saying, like, getting off of social media, that has helped my peace a lot. Now, granted, now I'm all into this whole royal
That's all
monarchy.
in good fun, and so is the rest of America. We're all like, "What's going on with Harry and Meghan? Give us all the tea."
Probably helping, not focus on all the stuff that I've been going through, honestly. And I feel bad saying that, but it definitely has helped me be like, oh, let me just see what's going on here.
Yeah.
All this other awful stuff. It's actually helped me. And that's so sad. Like, it's sad to admit. But
I mean, like, you're not alone. We're all there. We're like, give us more content.
Book, Clay.
I pre-ordered it. Yeah. I mean, I guess kind of adjacent to that, like just being in the public eye, speaking of people in the public eye, yourself included. Like, do you feel like there are any upsides to being a parent in the public eye? She's like, no.
I've been around a lot of really famous people, as you have too. And one thing I've noticed, like, whether it's being when I did the Kennedy Center honors, and I was literally, I'm sitting there hanging out in the bus with Julia Roberts and Borat with Sasha, what's his name?
Baron Cohen.
Sacha Baron Cohen. And I remember, like, especially watching Sacha Baron Cohen, I remember we were at the White House and he had his daughters with him and his wife. What's his wife's name? I can't.
Isla Fisher, is that it?
Isla Fisher. And, they had their beautiful daughters with them. And, you look at these two people and they're so famous, and they're like, you see this one persona that they're these funny comedic actors. And one thing I saw with them at the White House, and they were taking a picture in front of the Christmas tree, was they're a family just like you and Matt are, just like me and Grant and Grayson are. And like, that was so important to them. So I don't know what the upside to being a parent in the limelight, because it, like, a parent is a parent, whether you're in the limelight or not. Like you literally want the same things. You want to make sure your baby is okay. You want them to have the best life possible, like every parent. And being a parent is such a humbling thing, because his daughters, they don't give a rat's ass who any of those people were in that room. They probably were annoyed to have to be there, and like kids are so humbling in that way. I don't know the upside in that. Like, I guess if their kid wants to be in entertainment and they have a parent is connected,
Sure. Yeah.
that
Little Nepo baby action. Yeah.
yeah, but if that's not what they want, no, I don't really, to be honest.
I know. I've just always wondered, because it seems like it just makes everything exponentially more difficult. And so I've always wondered, like, does anyone ever feel like there's actually a benefit?
They don't, like, especially if your world is entertainment and that is your paycheck. It does sometimes involve long hours, weird hours, all these people around. It's not like a regular 9 to 5. And literally all you want to do is be home with your child. You want, as a mother, you want your baby to be there with you. Like, I think about Beyonce, for instance, who is the biggest star on the planet. And she has her kids, like, and she's probably, or Kim Kardashian, like, they're all such busy, constantly busy people. Like, how do they make time for their family? Like, I'm sure, they're doing what's best to make sure their kids have a great, beautiful life, which they do. At the same time, like, what sacrifices do they have to make to ensure that that corporation that they both have continues? Because the more money, the more problems, and the more money you spend. Like, I can't imagine how much their overhead every month must cost.
Oh, and also, and then it's like people's jobs are reliant on you creating,
Yep.
And the pressure that comes with that, in addition to just like you trying to like just do what you need to do and what you want to do. And yeah, the balancing act is a lot for sure. I remember my first TV gig I ever did, and this is such a small scale comparison, but was on Jimmy Fallon. I remember James Poyser from The Roots. I was talking with him, and I was just kind of, telling him some of the things I wanted to do in my career. And he was like, that's awesome. Like, keep working towards those things, but also know that every level has a new level of shit that comes with it. Yes. And it's not that just because you get to this new level doesn't mean that all those other things are going to go away. Some of them will go away, and then some new things are going to pop up. And then you're going to have to learn how to navigate all that new stuff too. So just know that, like, it's great to want to move towards these goals that you have, but also just like be open to making room for the new shit you're going to have to deal with. And that has been one of the truest things anyone has ever said to me professionally.
I think that's why, like, you see some massive artists go through a little bit of depression, because everything that they thought that they wanted, once they get it, like, it's like, this is it, huh?
Yeah.
You go to all those like award show events and you see how it all works, and you're like, nothing is completely real.
Yeah. It's so true. I feel lucky in the sense that I've been able to do a lot of the stuff I set out to do, but I so feel you on that that depression after the peak, because you're like, oh, well, okay, now what? And it's like learning to just be present, appreciate what has just happened, and find peace and joy and meaning in between all of the peaks, and especially during the downturns.
And then, like, you have all these people. I remember there was like this Lady Gaga clip of her talking, and she's crying, and she's like talking about how she's around all these people, and there's everybody in her face and doing all of this, but at the end of the day, she goes home alone. Like, that has to be like such a really humbling moment. Hold on, let me get Grayson. He's
Go
awake.
for it. For anyone who's listening to this, Mickey's doing the ultimate multitasking. She's doing this interview. She's getting her baby up from a nap, and she's making a bottle all at the same time. So a perfect reflection of the exact topic of this episode, doing it all at the same time and figuring it out. Last question. Would you change anything? Would you do anything differently?
I would. The one thing I would have done differently was I would have opened my mouth sooner. Gosh, Halle Berry, stop meowing. I would have opened my mouth sooner. Like I'm always scared to ask for what I want. Even now, I'm scared to ask for what I want and take up space. So it's something I would have opened my mouth for what I want a lot sooner.
That's a process. I was just talking with my girlfriend about that earlier today, about like why it's so hard for us to say no, or to like say what we actually want and not just take seconds or accept what is just like handed to us instead of being really specific about what it is we want to do, what we want. I think that's like a lifelong thing we'll always kind of be evolving through.
I have a theory, and I could be very much so wrong, so don't take this as God.
I want to hear it.
But, you know, like our generation and the way that our parents raised us, it's like children, you know, that Bible verse, children obey your parents. That whole saying, it's like honor your father and your mother. And I think we have taken that, and like, especially growing up in the South, or how our parents have raised us, is like with authority, you treat them with respect. And so we forget that we're raising, yes, they're a baby, yes, they're ours, but we are eventually raising someone who is going to be their own person. And I think especially women, we're meant to be submissive and kind and meek and humble. And then every now and then you have that girl that was raised where her parents told her to open her freaking mouth, that she asks exactly for what she wants. And for me, I think that was a huge part for me. And so I treated everyone, by the time I was 18, 19, when they were older, whether it was your boss at work or whatever, it was almost like my parents. I revered them like my parents, like that's authority. But the reality of it is, as soon as you turn 18, as soon as you go to college, as soon as you graduate from college, you are an adult.
Yeah.
And 60-year-old man boss has to respect you just as much as you have to respect him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Taking up that space and not just trying to be easy so that people will like you, or you think that's going to make your life easier. If anything, it makes it more complicated. But I'm glad that you have taken up the space that you have. I think you deserve that and so much more. And yeah, for anyone who hasn't gotten a chance, who has been sleeping under a rock, who hasn't been able to listen to your awesome music yet, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, all of the things, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all of the things.
Love it. Love it. I'm going to let you go hang with this cutie. And I'm so glad that he's here. I'm so glad you're his mama. He's so lucky to have you. He's like, let's wrap this up. I love you, girl. Thank you so much for hanging out.
I love you too.
Man, I could go into a total gush fest about how much I admire Mickey, but it would get sappy real fast, and I'm just going to spare you all from witnessing how emotional I get when I think about my friends and how lucky I am to have them in my life. I hope this episode helped all of you parents out there pursuing your dreams to keep after it, and I hope it gave perspective to anyone who's in a space of wondering if they can quote unquote have it all. I think if I had actually heard the ins and outs of what it takes to make it all work, I wouldn't have felt so overwhelmed and wouldn't have felt like I had to be so all or nothing for so much of my life when it came to kids versus career, you know? So if you want to keep up with Mickey, which I definitely think you should because it will just brighten your life, you can do that over on Insta at Mickey Guyton, MickeyGuyton. And you can buy her records and stream her music pretty much everywhere. If you want to keep up with me, you can do that over on Instagram at Danny Official, DAANI Official, as well as on TikTok at FTFE Pod, First Time for Everything Pod. If you enjoyed the show today, it would mean the world to me if you could take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the show because it really helps new people find us. And we just want to keep growing our crew of first timers, right? First Time for Everything is produced by Two Sheilas Productions, and our theme song Closer is sung by me, written by me and my friends in the Royal Foundry, and produced by the Royal Foundry. Thank you guys so much for listening, and remember, it is never too late for your first time.